All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another XAFers community stand-up. Today, Hoche has us prepared a really interesting topic about using GitHub Copilot SDK and XAF. So, there's a nice demo, and Hoche has also like basically the history of everything that he has done in that regard. I want to mention that in this AI world right now, we have in the past joke about that there was a in the old time there was the DOS and command prompts and everything was done through commands, and then it was the GUID. Everything was GUID based on make people more comfortable. And now with AI, everything is coming back to the CLI because now you are able to do really amazing things through the CLI, and almost all biggest vendor, Azure, AWS, GitHub, and you name it, have a CLI command that you can actually use in your applications and use through AI. The models are really good at interacting with commands, so this is great. So, really excited to see what you prepare, Jose. I'm looking forward. I know that everyone here will be really excited as well. So, take it over.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I was about to Google something. I was Googling something actually in the middle. So just give me a second because there is a few things that I will do them in specific order. Just one second because I want to show the courses to. Okay. Well, let's start. So let's start with the story a little bit. Lately, I've been using GitHub Copilot in almost all the activities that I have, especially with the OS integration. Um, Basically, what agents have is that they're really resourceful. So if they can write to the console and then read and continue, those are great tools to have, right? So you have the desktop chat GPT app or cloud or whatever or DeepSeek. And they are fine, but they're just a chat. So they don't have access to your operative system and a lot of other things. But when you're using Copilot inside of Visual Studio Code, for example, it usually works with the code to the console. So you can tell it something like, tell me the files on this directory, right? So if you have that power, it has like all other tools. That makes kind of a good agentic tool. So the demo that I have for today is I will show it first running, and I think it's already running because I was practicing this before for a network problem. So let's see how many studios open. Okay, so the demo that I have today is a basic integration of the GitHub Copilot SDK with with a SAF application. This is almost the same as you will see in any semantic kernel, Microsoft AI extensions, or, well, basically every chat service, the SDK from OpenAI and so on. So this is the application, basically a typical SAF application like products, categories, suppliers, and so on. Geography, countries, like type of a Norwin database, the sample database from Microsoft. So in this one, we have one thing. We have this model selector. These are the models from GitHub Copilot. So the thing is that um, the good thing about using GitHub Copilot is that you do not made with one single provider. For example, if you use OpenAI with Microsoft AI extension, even though the code is agnostic, you cannot switch just the model. You need to switch the infrastructure and then make another chat abstraction and then um, and then run again, right? So in the case of GitHub Copilot, so for example, if let's see, if I open Visual Studio Code, you can see that here I have several model providers. And also I have my own keys. For example, DeepSeek, I have it from OpenRouter. So Copilot, or GitHub Copilot in general, you can associate it or imagine that is the same as OpenRouter. Basically, it's a model provider, and they give you an agent that you will use to interact in general. So the beautiful idea of this service is that it comes with several models. You don't have to have several subscriptions. You don't have to have a cloud subscription and then OpenAI subscription. Also, if you have ever used directly the APIs from cloud or from OpenAI, they can be really expensive. Tokens are really expensive. The chat app that you pay is cheaper because it's subsidized by the companies. But if you pay for the tokens, you will soon spend 100 tokens in an afternoon. So the same case goes with GitHub Copilot. They kind of subsidize the tokens, so they are kind of really cheap. So you can really take advantage of this in your applications because I use it. I have 5 agents running 24/7, almost for the last 2 weeks, and I have used like around $100, so it's not so much. And they use Cloud Opus for 6, the one that's my preferred one so far. Okay, so that's the model selector window. So in here, this one, you can get them from 2 places. You can get them from querying the Copilot CLI or just passing a string. Both will work. And then we have a new action that opens a new detail view. And here we have a view item that is a chat. So there is nothing new in this for the people who use SAF, for people who use Developer Express components. This is like we have done this SAF chat integration like 50 times in the last 2 years, I think, because there is always a new version, something new to show. So this the example is really boring. So let's see. First, let's ask what is C#. And this should be like a normal chat session. And I'm using GPT-4o here. So if you see the console here, the console is actually communicating with the CLI. So see, here we have, it was able to answer. So this was executed not by calling an API directly, but by calling your operative system, spin up an agent here, like using your computer power. And then that agent connects to GitHub Copilot. So you can see that I'm sharing sessions with the operative system because here in my GitHub Copilot on Visual Studio Code, you see this. This is the question that I just asked. So it means that the session is the operative system level. And this is a little bit more advanced than a normal application where you have the chat completion. Chat completion is I get a question, you have an answer. But with the Copilot is, okay, it's time for show the code because it's really, really simple, to be honest. So let's close all the tabs. And basically, let's start for the references. So here, GitHub Copilot SDK. I just updated today. I was in a different version when I updated this, when I uploaded this repo. Okay, so that's the reference that you need. This HTML sanitizer and Mardik I'm using in the chat to render the content. And then you have only a few services. And the trick is that the Developer Express chat works well if you inject an iChat client. So what we need to do is, because there is no integration of the Developer Express component with the SDK, you can connect through the iChat client abstraction, and we will see that in a few. So here we have, these are all Copilot tooling, basically. Let's start with the options. So in the options, you have the display name of, this is like to name the agent, let's say like that. Then you have the model. Then you have your GitHub token, your CLI path. If you want to tell, okay, these are the executables of GitHub Copilot in the operative system, you run there. If you have a different version, if you have a modified version, and so on, you can pass which user is supposed to be logging. And if you're going to stream the answer, or if you're going to be a single answer. So these are kind of important. Why? Because the most important here are the model and the token. Because you can access, there is no API key, there is nothing here. So you can do two things. You can go to your GitHub account and request a token, and then you paste the token here. I mean, or you do it in the application configuration. So let me show you one here. Here. So this token, you get it from GitHub, and then you can paste it and you will communicate with token, but also you can communicate without token. You just need a model, basically. So let me close here. So if we open the OS, let's exit here. So let's clear this. So you can open your Copilot CLI. And here I'm already logging, and it shows like if I trust the folder where I am, yes. So here you have a few commands, login. This is the most common flow. So you install your CLI, that's basically just a command for installing Copilot. Then you will have this, and then you have to log in. So to log, what I recommend is, instead of the token that you have to put it in your source code and so on, you can log in here. You can say GitHub, and it will give you a verification code and a URL. So you go here, you continue, and then you authorize. Let's authorize this. And the CLI should be authorized here already. So, okay, that's cool. It means that now our operative system has the CLI embedded, the GitHub Copilot CLI, and other process can call it. So after you have done that in your code, you don't need the you don't need to pass the token. So what is it here? So let's see. This, for example, doesn't even have the Copilot section, so it means that it will pass it totally null. So it means no token. And if I run this, you can basically see, okay, we have still the models. Uh, when I was testing this, GPT-4o I think it had some problems executing tools. So I was doing the test with this and fail for like a few hours. And then I changed to GPT-5 and it just worked. So let's open a new Copilot and application, and let's do let's say a create order. this will call a tool. So I will show you where the tools are and where the abstraction is completely. See, we have a really nice report. Really, I love how it looks like. You don't know, you don't need these reports right now, like, forms. You can ask and it will nicely format. So it's because of the model we're using too. Like this model is really good for visual things. So, okay, let's go back to the code. So we have the options. Then after the options, we have well, the most important is the chat service. Chat service is basically the code that we need to connect to Copilot. So basically, this is like a wrapper that helps us configure and create basically a new connection with the CLI. So here you have the constructor for this class, and then you make a new Copilot client. And then that Copilot client you started. That will start basically a small process in your OS and connect with the CLI. And your application will be connecting with that process. And then um, you're interacting through your application through the chat UI, right? So what this can do to is, for example, it can, since it has access to that console specific, you can query the operative system if you want. So you need to be really careful on what you let it do. Okay. So once the client is started, we have another abstraction that is important, which is the chat client. So remember I told you that the chat component from Developer Express works really nice with AI extensions, and that you only have to inject a reference of iChat client. So in here, what we created is our own reference of iChat client, and we wrapped the Copilot service there. So here what we have is that we have the service. This is the Copilot service, and we ask streaming, and then we are concatenating and returning. So basically, we are um, processing kind of manually here, and then you send back to the UI and so on and so forth. So we have shown before like abstractions of iChat client in the meetup that we did integration with Microsoft AI extensions. So it's exactly the same. You just make your own instance and you wrap any chat service that you have. In here we have the Copilot one. And basically everything else will be just dependency injection configuration, which is when I go to the applications and let's check the startup. Here we will have the injection of, I think it was an extension. We'll have an injection of the iChat client that we have created. Not the here we have it, at Copilot SDK. So here basically we configure the service and then we Copilot service, and this returns a new Copilot chat client. This implement the iChat client, and this is what will do the magic of communicating the visual component to the CLI, and the CLI do the process. So this this is how everything is connected, right? This is basically the bridge. This replaced the Microsoft AI extension implementation and the official SDK implementation and replace it with your own implementation. So in this case, GitHub Copilot. So that's all for the integration. The integration is really simple and is open source. We have the repository since day one. I realized that Copilot, the article about Copilot, this one, um, what was showing was a draft, not the real article. So I updated the real article today. So here you can see the parts on how the project is modified, with reference are used, the client, the methods, what they do. Like it's really well documented how it's integrated. So I think everyone's thinking, oh, he never finished this article. No, I finished, but some draft over wrote it. So, well, if you have the time, take a look to this one. It's like the part two of the um, integration. And this is a shame because I don't know why Git, the GIF, they don't play, but they are really nice. They play in LinkedIn. Okay, so we have the integration. As we have seen, it's really simple. We have the repo if you want to give it a try. You have the article if you want to read what it's all about. But you can tell at this moment, like, okay, what is the difference between just using Microsoft AI extension with OpenAI API? Well, yes, in this case, there is no big difference because we are only using the uh, chat completions basically. But I don't know if you have checking the news lately, but there is a huge agentic movement that is like, okay, we have this open cloud agent now that is really useful. I've been using it for like 2 weeks already, or 1.5. And then you think, okay, what's the difference of chat completion and agents? Agents, they do have more um, tools because they are usually a process and they have something that is called the agentic loop. The agentic loop is ask themselves, is it done? No, continue, is it done? So basically a loop. Usually when you have, in most applications, you have this chat loop that you send something, they ask, you send something and they send something back. With the agentic loop, he's not waiting for you to send them something else. He will work until the task is considered completed. Basically, it's a while loop. So you have these opportunities of doing this type of agentic loops. So that's also possible with um, OpenAI extensions. So hold on, we have a question there. Just 1 second. I just want to find another project that I want to show you. Javier, we have Joso trying to ask something. He have raised the hand. So if you can take his question. But in the meantime, let's go back to this. So, okay, so it looks like there is no difference between Microsoft AI extensions right now and GitHub Copilot. But yeah, the big difference is the agentic loop. So here we have a course that we have been preparing with Javier, which is basically how to use GitHub Copilot. So since getting a client, handling the sessions, and so on and so forth. But here are some demos about other things that might be really useful that uh, usually you will have to create control structures yourself to handle them. So, for example, the ones that I like the most is this compactation demo. So here, basically, let's see, we can check, we have the loop, we have the session here. Here we have the events concatenation. This we're going to refactor because the code feels really heavy on on console construction. So it's kind of looks a little bit overwhelming with so much text. But let me find the part that I wanted to show you. Here we have the compactation event. So the session is something that is sending events, basically. So let me find the compactation. Here we have this is the message that happened when when it had finished the compactation. But let me find, this is the problem when you don't have methods that you need to browse all the source. So here we have the session, compactation event. Let's see, maybe it's this one. No. So let's run this one so we can see it. Okay, so we're in English. So, okay, so basically here, we are sending messages to the message list, to the context, and then it's making the context bigger, bigger, and bigger. And then you can take the context and say compact, and it will get the facts out of that context and make a smaller conversation to loop on. So this, let's see, verifying session compactation. Okay, so basically, well, this case it was not compacted, but the compactation loop, you will have to code it yourself in Microsoft AI extension. This already has a built-in tool for that. In this one, maybe the model that we're using doesn't allow compactation because not all the models allow compactation. So also not all the models allow tool calling, or the quality of the tool calling is not the same between models. So I tell you because my first day, I spent 3 hours just picking the wrong model. So um, so you need to know the model that you're using. This gives you an abstraction, but as you see, this one doesn't provide compactation, for example. So, but the thing that you can do with the Copilot agent or the CLI are a lot of extra code that we never show on the demos. Like in the demos, it's like, okay, you have the chat completion, you send, you receive, done. You continue the loop, but it's not a really agentic loop because it doesn't continue running. And we have not implemented all the things that do a agentic loop. You have chat, question, answer, basically. So in here you have, this is called the competition demo. You use it for something called infinite session, which means that you never create another conversation. You just continue on the same all the time. And when it reaches a threshold, it compacts, put it aside, and continue. So it's an infinite session, which is a concept that I really, really like. Then you have NCP connectivity. Again, this is reading the it's too overwhelming to read. So, but basically here you do the declaration and then you basically pass a JSON configuration of an NCP. And then you pass the arguments and everything that you need for the MCP. The MC configuration is really common right now. And basically after that, the agent loop will have the MCPs. So these are things that are already built in here that you don't have to code. With AI extensions, you might have to code some part of this. The skills too. So These are all the agentic things extra that you are able to do with Copilot without having to add some code. So hold on, we have a message. And that's basically it. I mean, sorry that I got cut you off. I got like a message on WhatsApp. So, well, I don't know if there is more questions. Oh, we have well, another message there. Well, let's see. Javier, we have a question from Joso. He'll
Yeah,
send me.
he raised his hand by mistake. But
Okay.
yeah, so no, Hochin, I think that all this information is gold. The future is integrating all our apps in with AI in some
Mhm.
way, shape, or form. And agents will be a big part of it. But not only that, is as always, we don't focus only on the technology, but on the value that the technology can provide. So how can we take this AI and make all our system more productive, more human friendly, more results for the end user, make their life easier. So as we have seen, Hocha, like we were discussing this before, the amount of things that we're able to achieve now is crazy. And we even had a prototype for sign language translation,
Mhm.
for video processing, for and being able to integrate this into XAF that gives us a framework, gives us a blueprint of building line of business app is just as we always say that XAF allows to focus on the business logic. But now with AI, it's like the only thing that you need to focus is your problem. We're gonna give you all this tool, all this module, all this security, everything in place. Just go and build something awesome. So I'm excited.
Well, Javier, so we wrap a new one finally. And I guess we will have a part two of this one because one part is the integration and one part is the other agentic part, right? So using the agentic part, we have a lot of things to talk about, but to not overwhelm with the concept of the CLI, the process, and so on. Uh, I guess will be a part two and three of this one.
100%. And just so everyone know, we are also building a new Udemy course, a completely free course that goes over about the AI part. That way you can take all that AI knowledge integrated with XAF and you should be good to go like building Linux Business App as we have never done it. We have never done it. That this is a new world and we are trying to solve it as much as we can. All right, guys. As always, thanks a lot. I always appreciate everyone joining us once a month to discuss about what we're doing, personal projects, Dev Express updates. So, as always, thank you for being here, and we'll see you guys next month.
Yeah.